It's like, how do I kill this? I don't understand. And then he informed me that Siege Tank was good.
That's how I feel about Hyder. If he's one of the best StarCraft players currently, or STARBOW players currently, and he'll just kill me with 2 Reapers. I'm like, that's not. You shouldn't be able to do that.
He's got that control, man. Can't mess around with that. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mess with Texas. We've got to the northeast position in the Blue Trunks playing Protoss, Axiom CranK. Versus his opponent to the southwest position in the Pink Trunks playing Zerg, Root Sasquatch.
Root Sasquatch fighting!
I'm sorry, I cannot give my support to Sasquatch as much as I like him. I like him as a person, but at this point, I want to see CranK go through in second place here.
He is by all counts the underdog in this scenario.
I would probably say so, yes. CranK has been playing a lot more StarCraft 2 lately. He had to have, again, some time off, and he does this frequently because, unfortunately, he has health problems associated with a lot of StarCraft 2 play, as well as his time in the military. So that resulted in some health issues, which prevent him from playing at times. But he's been playing a lot more lately, and he's been, of course, practicing for his WCS group, which is evil. I mean, that group is stocked full of incredible players. However, he does get to play only against Terrans, so he's preparing with Ryung right now. And he's hoping that that will be enough, but he actually has a good shot of not getting out of that group, because he's in a group with Tasia, Alive, and Major.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. CranK has beaten Tasia before, historically. He's actually quite good against Tasia, but, again, health problems do mean that CranK can't practice as much as he wants to, so that's going to be a bit difficult. And that means that he hasn't as much time for STARBOW here, and perhaps we saw that against Impact, but yeah, I'd still say against Sasquatch is probably the favorite here.
Absolutely. And Sasquatch, he has had plenty of STARBOW experience, but just not quite as much as someone like BCQ did, and maybe even as much as CranK. I'm not sure between CranK and Sasquatch, but CranK certainly has the mechanics to back it up.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest deal there, between the cool build orders that you can pull off in STARBOW, as well as the experience that you get with the various different units and experimenting with stuff that wasn't in Brood War. You still have probably the primary concern being whether or not your mechanics hold up. Can you utilize those macro boosting abilities as often as they're given to you? Can you control your units properly? And if you can't, then you're not going to get very far.
Mm-hmm. And you're not even expected to be able to use your macro mechanics the entire time, especially in a big macro game where there's just so much going on. We saw where there's just 3 fights going on at any given time during a long game, and being able to micro those plus use your macro mechanics is quite a feat.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. The skill ceiling to actually keep up at the highest level there is very, very high, and in my opinion, it's a nice little replacement, I suppose, for all of the other crazy stuff you had to do in Brood War. Mm-hmm. It's a case of we are using an engine that is better. You know, it's more advanced. It has features that will help you out, where that wouldn't have been the case in Brood War. But there is something thrown in there to make sure that you have the ability to put your APM to the test and actually make use of it in a real way.
And even the balance features, I'm sure they exist. This is a mod. This isn't like, we don't have a balance team. We don't have like a stash of replays and people playing.
Neither does Blizzard. Sorry, I was channeling SC Reddit there for a moment. Please continue.
But generally it does always feel like, at the highest level, even now, you can always just play better to just kill your opponent. Which it always felt like that in Brood War, where sometimes a certain matchup could feel just particularly mean, depending on the maps. But it always did feel like you could just elevate yourself above that.
Alright, so what do you think about this really early Hydra Den? Of course, you can build a Hydra Den on hatchery tech only. We've got a lot of Hydras coming out and Groot Spine upgrade being added. So is Sasquatch just going to go and try for an early 2-base Hydra bust?
He's going to be doing some early pressure. Bust, you can't necessarily say so for sure. Depends on how much he invests into the Hydra. If he gets a ton in Hydra and just keeps pumping, he's going to bust. But for now, it's just pressure where he's got the Hydra range. It's interesting. He does have the Ling speed, which is odd to me, because it feels like you should be just going Hydra, 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 instead of, oh, I'll get a few Lings and get the speed. So maybe he wants to transition out of this and just have some pressure at the front door with that range. Maybe cancel the +1, kill a gateway, keep him pinned back in his base. So we'll see. The cannons are going down for CranK, and he's going straight into Templar. I thought he was actually going for charge, but he's not. This is gonna, quick tech play.
Templar should work pretty well considering what he's up against here. CranK does have those 3 cannons, but they don't have the range to deal with those Hydras, and this gateway is probably going to be forfeit. CranK has not got the upgrade for Dragoon range, which means that he is outranged by these Hydras, and I wouldn't want to fight Hydras with a Dragoon anyway. We're going to lose gateway here, obviously, and as you were saying before about that +1, you might be right. That's probably going to get cancelled here.
Absolutely, and this pressure, it's just pressure. He's expanding. He's actually transitioning after this. He's got his 3rd up already. He's got a decent drone count at his natural.
Yeah, this is absolutely lovely opening here from Sasquatch. You basically get 2 buildings for free. It looks like he's going to get a pylon for it as well. You force CranK into this ridiculous defensive posture. I mean, there's 5 cannons going down. This is useless, Sasquatch has got, and I think that CranK is actually worried about a Hydra bust based on what he saw in the games against Impact. And it isn't a Hydra bust. It's just a bit of pressure, and then he's just going to wiggle his way on back to his base. However, we do have DTs on the way. We've got the Caterin Citadel being added on as well to allow for Chrono Boost and recall and things like that. And we've got Zealot Leg, so we're going to be seeing a weird mix, I think, of Speed Zealots and DTs.
What Root Sasquatch actually needs to do is morph that forward Overlord into an Overseer. But, of course, he doesn't know about the DTs yet, so that's the typical thing to do, is you just keep one forward Overlord if you're busting, and then any DTs that try to run out, you just kill them. But not going to be the case here.
No, Sasquatch is going to see pretty much everything tech-wise, though. He didn't see the Storm begin, so, and there's another Overseer now being morphed at the front, so these Dark Templar, yeah, he definitely knows now. The Dark Templar are probably not going to do too much, although they are going to slip in the base before the Overseer is finished. So we might see maybe a Queen die or something along those lines, but let's see what defense he's got. Well, he's got 7 Hydras, but where are they?
They are out of position. Yeah, they took the long way around.
That's not going to help, so we're going to see some drone kebab in the natural and in the main here. So, decent amount of damage being done. Not a huge commitment to DTs here from CranK. He's actually going Zealot Storm at the moment. But these DTs, in my opinion, have paid for themselves. The Dark Templar got 9 drone kills, so...
And the other Dark Templar got 5 before he went down.
Very nice, very nice. So that worked pretty well. And Sasquatch is now slowly hunting the DT, which is... These Hydras are so slow. They're going to be spotted here, which is unfortunate. We're going to see one dead Hydra. No! It's down to 4 HP, but... Well, the DTs did a decent job there. They held Sasquatch back a little bit, so there's the counter-harass going on, and probe count versus drone count very equal now.
10 workers killed overall from CranK with that slight commitment to DTs. Great work with that.
Another push coming in. We've got Lings and a few Hydras moving across the map, and there is Storm available. But to be fair, I think with the Speed Zealots plus the Dragoon, he's probably going to be fine. Doesn't need to worry about that. It's bringing an Archon in as well, and the +1 ground weapons did recommence after the rebuilding of the Forge. And CranK is going to start his pressure now, probably towards the 3rd base. We're going to need to see some units coming out from Sasquatch.
There is no +1, keep that in mind, on the Zealots. That got denied. So that is hampering Crank's push quite a bit.
Yep, it is being rebuilt. If it gets chrono boosted, it is going to finish very, very shortly. But it looks like Sasquatch is going to take the fight to him, and that is a sensible play at the moment. There are 2 Storms available, almost 3. So I wouldn't want to mess with this with Hydras and Lings, but it looks like Sasquatch might be forced to do that anyway. And +1 weapons just finished for the Zealots.
Ooh, perfect timing. Right in time for the engagement.
Yep, that's very nice indeed. Another Storm comes down. Not so great this time, doing more damage to the Zealots more so than anything else, but the Zealots have cut through the defenses. They're in the 3rd base right now. The Dragoon and the Archon pushing their way in too. The Hydras are trying to deal with these Zealots, but they're getting cut to ribbons in the process, so that's not working out too well, as Dragoon is finally going to go down. Harassment has been done. CranK still got a huge number of Speed Zealots, 14 in total. The Archon is about to die, and eventually these Mutalisks might be able to clean some stuff up, but there's another Archon, which is now fighting its way through those Mutalisks very effectively. Popping 2, going to take a 3rd down here. This Archon will not die. There's now Zealots at the main base.
Oh my god. Great engagement out of CranK.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Sasquatch just got roasted in all 3 bases. GG. And even though that delayed the push, it didn't